Hi, welcome back to the farm. My name's Roz, also known as Passion Flower, and you'll find me here each week talking about my farming and creative life. I'm back over in the shed this week. It isn't quite as hot today. It was nice before there was a breeze blowing through, but it's a little bit still at the moment, so it is heating up a little bit, but it's only in the high 20s today, much better than those high 30s that we were experiencing this time last week. Everything has been hot the whole week. We've had no rain. Um, the grass now, there's no grass. It is literally just all dried and dead. Yeah, everything is just so dry. I've let the sheep in to the area out here. It's got longer dry grass than in their regular paddock, but nothing that's really going to excite them all that much. I will be having to feed them some grain later on, but I'll do that in the evening once the UV index has dropped down quite a bit, because I think we're at like the extreme level at the moment, and I'm certainly not going to stand out there and deal with that when I don't need to and get exposed to the sun too much. It's actually so dry that the weeds that have been growing on my path just out here are at the point where they're drying up too. So uh, normally weeds flourish through everything, but even they're dying. So that kind of says where we're at the moment. Nothing else really to report farm-wise, except that we have done another tank load of blackberry spray over in the bush. But given the heat and the wind that we've been having, we haven't had a lot of opportunity to get out and do that yet. So hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll have some cooler mornings and days without any weird, crazy winds, that we can actually get out and get some of that done as well. This weekend, so after this actually comes out, I will have already gone to the cinema day in Ballarat for the fire relief. So I purchased a ticket for the fundraiser, and I have also donated 2 yarn prizes to the raffle. The raffle will not be drawn on the day of the movie. They're going to do some lucky door prizes for the people that attend, and then they are going to extend the raffle for another couple of weeks and then do the drawing. So if you'd still like to be in the running to win some really awesome yarn prizes and support the Victorian fire relief efforts, then make sure to find the details. I'll put them here on the screen, and they'll also be below, and you can go and buy your tickets. I was aiming to get a lot of my wispy lace that I dyed a few weeks ago actually re-skeined and labelled, but because of the heat, it attracts like static electricity, so I haven't been able to do that winding. It just becomes a mess if you try and do it. So I tried one skein and it was just a frizzy mess. So I'm going to have to wait until it cools down to do that. But I have had a chance to do a little bit of dyeing. We've had a few slightly cooler mornings, and then I've been able to get it hung and dried like within a day, which is amazing. So the quick turnaround is really great in terms of once things are done, but it's just finding that window to be over here in the shed before it gets too hot, especially with all of the hot pots going at the same time. So I did manage to create a pink that I'm really happy with. So it's sort of like a really dark pink, but it does have some lighter sections through it, some sections where it's quite dark. So really pleased with this one as part of my effort to kind of create some different versions of the same color across the seasons, I guess. So that's my pink. Then I decided to just have a play and do something a bit fun and different in terms of color combinations. I did write the recipe, so I can redo it, but I came up with this one. So it's got orange and blue, a little bit of pink, some yellow, some brown. And I think it's just a bit fun and different. And I think it'll sort of maybe fit into my autumnal kind of color selection. Don't have a name for this one yet. And then I have dyed up my first batch of 2026 Christmas yarn, and I'm super happy with it for a first go, but it does probably need a little bit of tweaking. I'm not sure if I'm going to show it or not. I have been working on a sock in the yarn to try and test it out. So maybe I'll talk about the yarn then, but I might make it black and white so you can't see exactly what it looks like. I'm not entirely sure yet. I feel like it's too early to reveal, but I do get a bit excited about it and I like to talk about it. So I have to make up my mind. But so you'll actually kind of know what the colors are from what I'm about to show you now. So part of the tweaking that I need to do is that the dye process, because of the amount of dye that I put into the dye bars, it didn't all exhaust with the amount of skeins and how I was doing the dye process. So I ended up with pots that still had quite a bit of dye in them.
I don't know what happened to the audio in this section, so I'm just recording over the top. So the vision of me is not going to match the sound, but I just wanted to say that I didn't want to waste the dye that was in those pots, and I also didn't want to put it down the drain because that water goes out onto the garden, and all I want to do for that is to put out clean water, which is being completely exhausted of dye.
So I grabbed some 5-ply yarn that I've had sitting in my stash of undyed yarn, things that I've been thinking about adding to the shop, and I just threw them into the pot with what was left. And so I can't actually replicate these two colours because I'd have to be timing the time that I had the other skein in and then all of that stuff. So that didn't happen. But I really do like the colours that I ended up with. So I ended up with this sort of light greeny blue. It's coming out way bluer on the camera that I'm seeing, but it's actually quite green. See if you can. No, I'll see if I can get a picture and pop it in because it's not coming out the color that it actually is. And then I also got this lovely pink, and this is not coming out the color that it is either. It might when I do the editing, but at the moment it's coming up a little too musk stick pink on the screen, and it's not. It's a little bit of a lighter shade than that. So you can clearly tell that I was working with red and green, which I kind of think I had mentioned was going to be the colours this year anyway. But this is what I have dyed up in the 5-ply. So I've got 4 skeins of each of these. I think what I'm going to do is just have these at markets as kind of one of a kind, try the base kind of situation and see how I go with that. But did enjoy it, just throwing them into the pot and seeing actually what came out, and just reminding myself that I really do like this base as well. So that's something that I need to kind of go back to and sort out what I'm doing with this 5-ply as well. First to what I am wearing this week, this is the yellow brick rodeo top, which I made way back in 2022, I believe. This is the second one that I made, and it's made with a hobby yarn in the unicorn solids colorway, and it was navy, and this was a multicolored dreaming color club colorway, I think from like 2013. And this is just a mosaic on the top. So it's a really good way to use like a special skein in a garment, and then you just have the rest plain. Thinking about potentially using this stitch pattern or something similar on just some other plain top designs, or maybe even just going back to this and creating some more with some of those special single skeins that I have in my stash. I actually have a lot of knitting progress to share this week over a number of different projects. So I've jumped around a little bit this week and done quite a few different things. So first to what I finished. The only thing I finished this week was a pair of socks for my sister in a DK weight yarn. This is the tweed from Bendigo Woolen Mills. don't have the ball band because she gave me the ball after she'd finished making something with it, so I don't have it. And I've just blocked them on a coat hanger that I have bent into shape of a sock. So it is completely hollow through the middle, and I just, bent it into shape. And as you can see, once it comes off, it is nice and blocked out. And because it's got a hole all the way through, it dries nice and quickly. So these I can now give to her because they are all finished 100%, even the ends woven in. So yeah, finished socks. So when I finished those socks, I decided that I'd cast on another DK sock just so that I had something to work on when I go to the movie craft afternoon, because I thought socks was going to be the easiest to carry around and also the easiest to work on without having to think about it too much. And I realized that I had finished one complete rainbow striped sock from, this is Heather made, I think. Yes, Heather made sock in the rainbow lollipop pastel. And so I've cast on the second, but then I tried this on and I'm pretty sure this feels way too tight for me now. It's not going to block out a ton. So what I'm going to do is actually make a larger one, which I've started. So I've increased out, if you can you see that? The difference between the two? So I've got the probably about 8 stitches wider, this new one. So I am doing a brand new sock, and then what I'll do is I'll probably rip this out and reclaim back the stripes. But I should have enough, I think, to not have to worry so much, and I should be able to get another 2 socks out of this ball for myself because I only have small feet, and I don't want them to be super tall. So yeah, so I cast those on just so that I have something to work on while I'm in the movie. Oh, and the black I'm using is just some leftover black sock yarn. Don't even remember what it is, but this is a 4-ply and I'm holding it double for the toes, heels, and cuff. I did also cast on with the new Christmas yarn that I'm trialing out, just so that I can see how consistent it looks throughout the skein and also to see how it is turning out. This bit might be in black and white. We will see how I feel once I do the edit. But here it is in the ball, and this is how it's working up so far. So I'm really loving how it's kind of striping, but in a way that is creating sort of like pools of color, which is kind of what I'd hoped would happen. So I'm really pleased with that. Just got to make sure, as I said, that it's consistent throughout the ball. So my next sock I'll probably pull from the outside of the ball and see the difference between the two. But you can see I've been quite excited about this one and knit quite a bit. Last week I was talking about trying to make another one of those short sleeve yoked tops with this Noro yarn. Oh, and I bought this band, which doesn't tell me anything and not the actual tag, so that I can't remember what it's called. But I've got one skein of this and it's 500 meters. So I've done a swatch. This was on 5.5 millimeter needles, I think. And I'm not now sure if I want to use it. It is, I'm not sure if you can see. It's actually, the knitting is slanting a little bit. When I was knitting with this, it was curling up on itself. It's like it's a bit overspun. You can see little like piggy ear bits there where it's way like overspun on itself. So I'm not sure if I should wind it into a ball or even wind it into a skein and like wash it and thwack it like you would with spinning to see if I can make it a little less whatever that is. Because I don't like the way that the knitting is slanting. And I also so this has been washed, but I also I'm not sure about the fabric. Like there's thick and thin sections. Like this is fine, I think. Like you can't see through it at all when you put it on. So I think this would probably be okay. Um, I just wasn't enjoying the knitting with it because of that high twist in it, and you can really see it still in this knit fabric because it's captured that twist in the knitting. So I actually need to deal with it in the ball before I continue to do anything with it. So this might sit in my stash for a little while longer until I can be bothered to uh, figure out what I'm going to do with that. If anyone's ever knitted with this Noro before, see that wind's coming through now. It's really quite lovely. If anyone's knitted with this Noro before, I'll put the name of it on the screen. Perhaps you might be able to give me some suggestions on how you approached it or if you just went with it. I still have two more things to share. So first, I will show you my Melanie that I was talking about undoing the sleeves that had been super, super tight and re-knitting them. So I have done quite a lot of work. I've finished the sleeves. I decided to go with 3/4 sleeves. I did have enough yarn to do more than that if I'd wanted to, but after trying it on again and thinking about when I would potentially wear this jumper, I decided that 3/4 sleeves were probably the way to go. And then what I could also then do is wear like long mitts if I wanted to wear it somewhere that was a bit colder. So I have completely finished both of the sleeves. So I've did all of the knitting and I've also done the fold over cuff. And I really like how that looks. You can sort of see like it's not really a seam line, but you can see that join line. And I think that looks really, really neat. Um, I did find this quite tedious and hard to do. I probably was making this harder for myself than it had to be. But what I did, it was like a three-step process. So as you can see, I've used the white yarn that I used on the neckband for this just to hold it in place. And you can't see it through the sleeve. But I decided to do that so that I could see it really clearly as I was connecting it. And also because I didn't want to use the two strands of the other yarn because I just thought that was a waste. And I've got a little bit left and I can use that for something else and make it special and seen rather than inside a cuff that you're not going to see. So, as I said, it was a three-step process. And what I first did, and I'll show you on the bottom because I'm not finished with the bottom hem yet, is I went around where I wanted to secure it on the inside and counted up the number of rows and then wove a piece of that yarn through into each of those bumps on the same row all the way around because I'd started to try and attach it just going freehand and I was not keeping a straight line at all. So this was the only way I could think that it was going to make me stay straight. So I did that first on each cuff. Then I also wove yarn through the live stitches on the cuff as well. Then folded it over and got a third piece of that white yarn and put the needle first through the ridge on the inside of the arm where I'd already woven it through, and then through a live stitch on the yarn, and did that all the way around, um, making sure that it all like didn't pucker or anything, that it was all nice and even. And then I took out this yarn and I took out the one that was holding the live stitches, leaving me with just the one row of white yarn on the inside to hold the sleeve. And I was making sure that I left it nice and loose as I went so that it didn't like pull in too tight. There must be a better way, but this is my way now, and I'm really happy with the result. So if I had done it just freehanding, not really looking, it would have been an absolute mess and definitely not straight. Whereas I know for sure that this is straight. So having said that, I then was going to use I've got a spot with a blue marker. Where is it? Here. Here. And I had already decided that that was where I was going to fold up to. But when I went to I had it bound off this bottom. And when I went to fold it up, it felt like the hem was a little bit too short. So I ripped back the bind off and I've been just knitting a few more rows until it feels about right. We're getting close now, I think. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, let me show you that now. It's going to be hard to see on this. So from there to there is where it is now. So we're pretty close to where I think I will be binding off and again sewing all the way around to make sure it's attached nice and neatly and holding all of those live stitches as well as making sure that I'm doing it in that straight line. So I still have a little bit of both of these left. So I've got enough to do a few more rounds on the bottom just to make sure I've got that length that I want. And I will still have some left over. So I will keep this as like little precious bits that I can potentially use to fix anything that happens with this jumper or find a project that I can add a little bit of extra special color to. Like it could work for the stripes of a beanie or something like that. So I'm pleased to be fixing this jumper and it is going to be a great one, I think, to wear during autumn and spring when it's not too cold because it'll be warm for like my arms and shoulders, but without being like a big jumper that covers like all the way down to my wrists. So, yeah, that one is almost finished, but still a lot of work in terms of all that sewing. Okay. And to my final work in progress, this is my Avena cardigan that I'm making out of my own hand-dyed yarn. This is a new base that I'm trying, which is a brushed 8-ply merino. And at the moment, it is not on the needles at all. So I have done, you've seen all of the squares joined together. I have finished the bottom ribbing and I've done an Italian bind off on the end. So that took quite a while to get all of that done. All of those ends that are hanging down have been woven in. I have little knots on each of them so I can tell that they've been done. So they will just need to be clipped once I have reblocked this whole thing. And last night I had picked up all the way along the top of here and knit 2 rows. Then I looked at it and realized that I had picked up the stitches in the wrong spot. So if you can see down here at the bottom of you can see how you've got the chain still visible of the crochet granny square. So I had picked up along here, but I picked up on like the outside here. So you couldn't see that last row of chain. So it kind of just flowed into the knitting, which, look, when you're actually doing a pickup on a sleeve or something or a neckline, you want that. You don't want to see the inside of the garment. You want it to be like a really beautiful, clean line. But for this, you actually want to see the edge of the granny square. So you have to pick up from the inside of these, which is what the instructions said, and clearly what I did down here so you can see that chain, but I didn't do it at the top here. So now I've got like a messy top with all of the outside chain stitches a bit stretched. So I'm leaving this for a few days to kind of let it settle back again. And then I'm going to have to go back and pick up from the inside so that that line of chains stays visible when I pick up. And it was clearly written in the instructions to do that. I just completely missed it because I was reading about how many I needed to pick up, which they do really well in this pattern as well, because it actually says two edge stitches and then X amount of stitches per square. So it's really easy to be able to figure out how many stitches you need across your whole garment. You don't have to count the whole garment at a time. You can just go, right, I need this many here, and it makes them nice and even. So I will endeavor to re-pick this up and start. So you knit up, you knit a couple of rows, do a little bit of shaping, and then you knit the sleeves, and then you connect everything together and connect the sleeves, do yoke shaping. So I may not even pick this up now. Maybe I just go straight into knitting the sleeves, and then I can go back to this. It really doesn't matter which order I do it in. It actually suggested doing the top part first and then doing the ribbing, but I've already knitted out of order anyway. So maybe I just do both the sleeves concurrently, get those on holders because you knit them from the cuff up, and then I can start working on the main body. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and look forward to seeing you next week on the farm. Bye.